Hello all you anime Americans! Well, YouTube's done it again. They've changed their algorithm focus from watch time to engagement, meaning likes, subscriptions, comments, shares, etc. I don't know, burrito? Hopefully it's a burrito, but not likely. Which affects both us and all your favorite YouTubers out there. So if you like our content and want a way to support us, if you would leave a like, some comments, and all your digital support, we will be very much appreciated. And if you want to make sure you get all things Anime America, don't forget to smack the bell near our name and make sure your notifications are on. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. It's winter time, meaning leftover food and fun-loving memories with your friends and family. Though it didn't seem like that way to me with all the finals I had to go through. So, while I was alleviating myself from my academic responsibilities, we here at Anime America decided to do our occasional Patreon raffle, and lo and behold, someone wanted me to review an anime. Yes, me, Shannon, this girl right here. Seriously, you don't know how much I felt when someone asked me personally to do a review. That's also not harem related. It's like super rare. And thus, my past Christmas cheer grew 3 sizes that day. So, without any further hesitations, this review was brought to you by Evan Green over on Patreon. I hope you find this video enjoyable as we jump into the 2006 fantasy adventure anime. Oh no, it's a long, complicated Japanese name. Here we go, folks! Utawarerunmono. It's still gonna get a lot of people in the comments angry no matter how I pronounce it. All these names, man, are so difficult sometimes. But you know what? Now let's drink some hot cocoa, snuggle up with some kitties, and light this review up already!
Feudal style.
Like many feudal adventures, our story begins with a man gravely injured and left for dead in the forest. My god, there's some kind of trend or something. A kind young girl named Elulu luckily finds him and nurses him back to health. While in recovery, he realizes that he has no recollection of any memory from before the time he was found, nor why he has such an ominous mask gripped onto his face. Regardless, for now, he tries to adapt to his surroundings and the kind generosity of the village that earnestly took him in. Upon this barren wasteland, strange creatures roam, an angry god seeks vengeance, an oppressive government slaughters the innocent, and a bloody war looms over the horizon! With Hakuto as his new given name, will the masked hero liberate the people who saved him? Can he unlock the memories that elude him? Will I have a banana for lunch today? Or will he remain a stranger even to himself? And with that, I can finally get this off my chest. Oh my god, this show is so 2000s! This is not a bad thing, but as we live in the 2010s now, it's a show like this that really brings to the surface how far we've come in the anime world. Now, if you're new to anime, you wouldn't have been taken away by this anime shift, but you would still kinda notice how differently the atmospheres that these 2 decades give off. True, an anime showing its age is not always the case, as with most slice of life titles. Actually, that's not completely true. Slice of life titles can show its age, it's kinda weird and that's a story for another day. However, I personally can't unsee it sometimes. So I'm going to be reviewing this series from the retrospect of the 2000s, because it wouldn't be fair to expect today's animation, sound, or story style from a 10-year-old anime. With that precursor finished, let's begin with the plot's positives. First of all, I like the fact that the story doesn't put too much emphasis on the fantasy in this fantasy anime. We have a bunch of mythical human creature-like hybrids all living in the warring states-like ecosystem, where both magic and other things seemingly coexist. Seemingly! I'm going to stress this a lot here for later on. The denizens of this world are interpreted so organically, like they've always been there, with no exaggeration of being in a world of fancy and wonder. Beyond that lies a story about a gnome named Amnesiac with a foreseen common benevolent nature, who becomes mixed in the politics of warring factions, eventually making his own claim where both victory and mystery commence. Very par for the course for an anime just coming off the fantasy boom choo-choo train. Another positive is the clear structure of the arcs. After each arc, which is normally a handful of episodes, we are treated to an episode or two of palate cleansing filler to give our information dumps a needed breather. In a show with 26 episodes, having some downtime is greatly needed when trying to digest all of the mystery and lore. You know, because it's like 26 episodes or something. Remember that, guys, when anime actually had time to pace itself and it didn't turn into a factorized, overworked beaver pumping out 12 episodes of rushed material, but it's slugging endless saliva of buildup? Anyway, it's this linear structure in this first half that kept the ball rolling at a nice pace. As we watch Hakuto go from misguided man of interest to rebel emperor, I never once felt completely overwhelmed, but rather the first half felt more complete to me. Alas, though, I guess I can't keep myself at bay any longer, for all of these sticks upon the screen are starting to get annoying. You hear that? We're getting to it now, so you guys can just bug off! Jeez. Let's start with the main problem of Utawarerunmono, in that the show is highly repetitive and loses a lot of its steam once Hakuto becomes emperor. I understand that this is the story about a land where war is always knocking on the door, but the similar setups are an issue to me. The show does try to level that out with character development in between, but that's its own problem in itself. Besides that, overall, I did enjoy the show for my time watching it, but it never at any time gave me any hook to keep me coming back for later seasons. Though for some reason I have the sneaking suspicion that the many attempts to excite the plot were to fix this very problem. Which brings me to my second issue, in that along with the repetitive plot comes the convoluted extras. I won't talk about everything because there's one issue that I will highlight later in after show, but let's just say for now the show felt desperate after the halfway point to keep my attention plot-wise. Sometimes I felt like different writers were handling different arcs, while other times I got easily lost by all the confusing exposition. Exhibit A! Remember that old 2000s trope where names, places, and other important details were given very long-winded fancy names to make the show sound more lore-focused than it was? I'll give you some examples. Oh, that's not a tiger, that's a... Oh, that's not a black-winged angel, that's a... Oh, that's not a stick, that's a... That's not Robin, that's a Robin. What? It is. I guess you see my point. Utawarerunmono's plot is not bad overall, it's just very 2000's, if that makes any sense. Even for its time, it was very subpar and kind of dragging on. I kind of wished at times that while the flaws were not as bad as they are today, it never grabbed me, it never hooked me, and that's a real shame, because its characters do make up for a lot of the plot slack. If in by retrospect, when I mean a lot, I mean a little bit. Everyone in Utawarerunmono's core characters can basically be summed up in one phrase. They were good in concept, but execution was blank. And this highly disappoints me, since characters in concept were Utawarerunmono's best asset. There could have been just a few little tweaks and bobs here and there for the characters to really make more for the show's slogging plot. Most either had potential for growth and never paid off, or just didn't grow at all and became one-trick... ponies. Our main character, Hakuto, is, in the bluntest sense, a boring rigmarole. He was stern, kind, and considerate, always making sure how and what to do to keep his army people alive, but regardless came off as bland in personality. I was glad he wasn't constantly brooding over his mysterious past, and only saved it for when he needed it, and had happier emotions to showcase, yet that's not enough to grab me on his struggles. Okay, maybe it is, but I've become just bored with how he carried himself apart from being able to look past his unknown own feelings and listen to concise reason. From the categories I gave earlier, he would definitely be placed in the former, because of course the point of the story is for him to grow as a character, since he is the protagonist. But nothing logical felt paid off. As for motherly love interest Elulu and her little sister Aruru, they had a similar issue, being nothing more than motivational fodder for most of the series, with only being good in concept when the show actually took time in each arc to flesh out their inner feelings. Elulu towards the middle of the series became aware of her feelings slightly, and that paved way for some honestly good interactions with Hakuto. In fact, I will say that when they were together, did their personalities elevate each other. Aruru followed suit, though I felt that being the little sister character gave her a better position to interact with the side characters more fluently, since she didn't have much of a strong role to play outside of, well, you know the drill. But I believe this only makes the following opinion more inherent in the fact that the side characters really made the show a lot more entertaining and carried most of the show's weight. Every arc introduced another warrior to add to Hakuto's gallery of do-gooders, and they played their roles to a T. My favorite two have got to be Oboro, the swift, big-talking, dual-wielding mercenary with his 2 archer attendants who may or may not be sneaking overtime when he's drunk, along with Karuwa, the once enslaved powerhouse of a woman with a great thirst to match. I felt that the former got the advantage of being the first warrior introduced, so my opinion of him was a lot better off, obviously. But they kept making his growth somewhat relevant throughout the series, which was much appreciated. However, his execution was, let's just say it slogged a bit towards the middle of the series once more warriors came in. It wasn't until towards the end where he really got to shine and the payoff really came out. But he's a lucky one, and who I think got the least brunt of the execution downfall. Karuwa, while my favorite female of the show, felt like the waste of potential. She sure got her own bit towards the later half of the show, however the execution of that arc was choppy and rushed. Probably because the bit in the middle was bullshit, leaving very little time to tie the loose ends of everyone's stories. I mean, Karuwa's resolution was nice, seeing how things ended up in her arc, but the road to get there was meh, especially the arc's villain. He was the dumbest one, and that's saying a lot for this series because there were a lot of dumb villains. I mean, he was dumb. Sigh. I think I got those last bits of dumb. Now I got the last bit of the dumb hiccups out of me. So without any more stuff in the way, let's just go ahead and move on to presentation then. Honestly, the presentation was one of the harder parts of the review for me. It just didn't feel right to say my opinion before putting some considerations at hand. I decided that before I could really dive into the goods, I had to remind myself of the good and bad of the time period that was brought with this anime. Spring of 2006. Now let's just put this here, and press the adjacent seat here, and all these dooley dads here. And now that's all there's left to do is chant the mystical words of the gods. Feel the rhythm. Feel the rhyme. Get on up. It's bobsled time. Go running. Ow. My back. Oh, here we are. April 2006. Ah yes, the time of Black Lagoon, Oh My Goddess, Triple X Holic, and of course, the Ouran High School Host Club. And compared to them on an animation scale, this show didn't really come up to snuff. But it did outplay a lot of titles of the same time as well, like a few random comedies and some low-budget animes here and there. So to be specific, my personal issue with the animation is the show's stiffness. Most shots were of people either talking stationary in a room, close-up shots, slow zoomed-in pans, and recycled fight footage laced around. The lack of loose expression was disappointing, but it was a nice effort when they did kinda try. Sound-wise was about the same, slightly better. I didn't have much of a problem with with it besides the delivery of the lines from the English dub. And before you go raising your pitchforks, no, this is not hypocrisy because of pronunciation. It's actually emotion-wise. So pitchforks down. Speaking of, I do prefer the Funimation's English dub over the sub. Why? No real reason. When watching it, I just didn't really get annoyed to any of the performances despite many of them being very hammy, especially the one-off villains. So when I was picking my audio for what to watch it with, I just decided to keep it with the English dub since the sub was kinda okay. Though the voiced cast's tonal range was another strong reason why I got the really 2000s vibe, and why I didn't really mind much for some of the show's flaws. I was able to easily get through the anime and enjoy it when I was hearing it in the dub rather than in the sub to concentrate, because I noticed that when I was concentrating it with the sub, I had more of a reviewer's mindset than when I used the dub to just enjoy it. I know it's kind of weird because I am reviewing the anime now. At least for me, when I watch a show out of enjoyment first, I can easily get both sides of the story than just simply looking at it from a reviewer's perspective and nitpicking it all to hell. Karuwa, played by Shelley Colleen Black, Aruru, played by Sasha Paysinger, and Elalu, played by Kira Vincent Davis, were all my personal favorites. Oh yeah, and Obaru, played by Chris Mighty fucking Patton, was also in there too. I loved his performance so much, but man was he hammy. Though that's what I loved about it. While Hakuto himself, played by John Gramillion, was okay. It was solid for the entire performance, but I felt like it lacked outwardly expression. Compared to everyone else for his role, it was fine, but the lack of punch was disheartening. As for everyone else, the same can be said, in terms of solidarity. Nothing too weird besides the hamming here and there, so good on that. Soundtrack and opening sequences were forgettable, to be honest. The opening was good for one go-around, but I skipped it afterwards. The ending especially was really lazy by today's standards, but kind of par for the course back then. I mean, Ouran had a similar ending sequence, but just with a bit more color to it, so it's not the end of the world. And that's pretty much it for my thoughts on presentation. As you can see, I'm just conserving my energy here while I'm holding 2 lit stick candles of unnecessary proportion in this machine that I really should be using for the upcoming round of banter, so just don't mind me. You smell that charred bird air nostalgia in the air? No, it's not just my clothes. It's after show time! The time for spoilers abound and the grit to be revealed. This section is for those who've already finished the series, so without further ado, this is your final spoiler warning. In which is now time to talk about the elephant in the room. No, seriously, I want you to right now look at this image and tell me what genres you think is tagged to this show. Go on, I'll wait. I'll wait. Time's up! If any of your brains mention sci-fi, then congratulations! You have the true capabilities of the all-seeing eyes of the gods! Because I sure as hell didn't see that coming. Oh yes, sci-fi. The genre that was unnecessarily jammed into this show. And you're probably thinking to yourself, but Shannon, this is a show about fantasy, abnormal people, and a Japanese-like scenery. What do you mean, science fiction? I know most of you aren't asking this, but give me a bone, okay? Writing bad jokes is hard. Anyway, as said earlier after episode 12, did things get very convoluted. It was plot twist after plot twist of confusing, and I felt like they just did it all for the sake of making the show more excited. Let's just run a few of them down quickly, shall we? Plot twist! This entire show takes place in the future! Past. Reset thing. I don't know, that's never really explained. Plot twist! Hakuto was actually the very god his country was referring to the entire time. Which is actually the only good plot twist. Good job, anime. Plot twist! But he was actually started as a human scientist guy, maybe, who was then shot to death for seeing too much. Way to ruin the only good plot twist. Plot twist! His blood was absorbed into the ancient artifacts of said god, only to come back in the form of a test subject named Iceman. Why the hell named Iceman? Plot twist! Meet the completely unuseless missing link to our love interest, people! Plot twist! Aruru can't die because Elalu made a pact with the god for all her worth, in exchange for her revival. Hashtag ultimate plot armor. Plot twist! I just had an apple this morning. It was good. Plot twist! yes, the real bad guy of the show and Hakuto are essentially the same guy. Even with that explanation, how does that even fucking make sense? Since, plot twist! This chick has multiple personalities, blah blah blah, I'm getting tired now. This kind of exciting isn't exciting, it's just tangled. Not that tangled. Like when you're at your little brother's birthday party and instead of expecting cake, you actually got pink fireworks in the shape of a cake. Oh, it's exciting, alright, until you hear the slow screams of children as they waste upon the party floor. Unsightly, isn't it? Anyway, every single thing they tried to jam into the climax just felt like more oil to the fire. It didn't cleanse the slow plot and only dirtied it further. The sci-fi is shoehorned in, and yeah, the show was slow at times, but they didn't have to put all of that for it to be enjoyable. If they just focused on what they previously had. Oh, and screw the first mysterious past reveal with the whole cock tease arc was bullshit, and you know it. The whole clue about Hakuto's past was totally pointless once we found out it has nothing to do with anything. Just there to troll him and the audience. The whole brother-in-law stick only to realize he doesn't have siblings, it was infuriating. In Hakuto's case, he didn't have memories, so I understood his position, but how can you, big leader guy, right here, how can you get so swayed by a fake relative? Yes, you were controlled and misled, and it's not all your fault. It still was just stupid for your investment as the audience member, and don't get me started on this asswipe. He amounted to nothing once they got into his room. At least the previous guy left a lasting impression on the main character. You just fell flat on your face once your waifu was not that into you. You know what? I'm just gonna take a quick round of me time so I can calm down a bit before I wrap this up. It's not worth getting mad at you, and especially you on how you do things. So just go take a good sit down, eat a banana, and go back to villain school. So until then, I'm out! Game over, man! Game over! Utawarerunmono, if best summed up in a few words, is a fantasy anime that felt left behind by the 1990s fantasy boom. While the literal moments, English voice acting, and side characters kept things entertaining for a time, I was easily swept up by recycled motions of plot, boring setups, and a very convoluted ending. Yeah, on a small level, it was a good, quick, one-time watch, but I can see why it was on the Save Editions list in the first place. But nowadays, for a price like that for a 26-episode series, it's really affordable, and not so much of a heart-wrenching for your wallets. So after some consideration and 200 pounds of sake later, I give Utawarerunmono Season 1 with the unfortunate recommendation to deny it. If you are already subscribed to Funimation's premium services in North America, then watching this in either format won't be so much of a hassle if you prefer to stream it, which I do recommend if you want to watch it. But other than that, you are not missing much. Before I move on though, I'm putting on the screen now my entire rating system in a nutshell, since I've never had a chance to explain it. And if there's enough likes on the video and comments, I will make a separate video at some point to explain it in further detail. But as of now, Deny It is not the lowest rating I can give an anime. It just means the show is just not worth the time if you have so much on your plates already. And it doesn't mean that it's the worst thing in the world, so see that as you may. As for other anime recommendations, let's go with the classic Inuyasha, a fantasy tale among many. It also has its flaws, but it's worth a good throwback for those who want to get reacquainted. My second one is for a lesser known anime, which if you're like me and have a college student budget, then looking for this anime in the bargain bin is worth the wait in Moribito. It has the same time period vibe, but tells a much more centralized story in all directions. Then there's Girl the Animation, because honestly I watched a few episodes after finishing Megan's Top 10, and I'm currently enjoying it and thought it should get more attention. And the last one I recommend is a blind one, since I heard good things about this show for its storytelling, but I've never gotten the chance to watch it in its entirety. And that anime is Kingdom, another old aesthetic show with a lot of emotional grit behind it. So I hope that whichever one you decide to watch, it'll be up to your taste. And I think I'll wrap that up for today. Another big thank you to our Patreon raffle winner, Evan Green, for recommending this anime to review, and his adorable letter. If you are a Patreon supporter and want to get in on this contest, we pick winners every now and then, and with the winner in question getting their anime reviewed as top priority, mind you. Then you can head on over to the link in the description below for more details. Though we thank everyone who has supported us, whether it's for free or with donations. Your good faith keeps us doing what we do in this weird age of YouTube, as we slowly become bigger and better with each passing day, and hopefully one day I can do this full time and not have to live out of an orange box upon graduating college. I mean, it prevents scurvy, but its equity is atrocious. So yeah, that's all the heart-to-heart I got, and anything else? No, not really. So until next time, this has been your lovely co-host Shannon, telling you to stay fruity, stay peachy keen, and stay tuned to Anime America. Oh great, now I want fruit.
Want to support the production? Check out our brand new store on Store Envy. For a small price, you can have a one-of-a-kind poster made by yours truly. If you can only give a small amount to help us out, check out our Patreon page. Any amount you wish to give us goes towards our production needs, so anything you can give us helps us a lot. To keep up with the latest in Anime America stuff, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even Tumblr. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe to Anime America for more awesome reviews and top 10 lists. If you're interested in anything of pop culture, be sure to subscribe to Pop Spectrum. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned to Anime America.